So now part A of free response question number 1, they're asking us how many fish enter the lake over the 5-hour period from t equals 0 to t equals 5. So one important thing is they're only asking how many fish enter the lake. So that means that we're going to use the enter the lake function, but we're not going to use the leaving the lake function because they didn't ask how many accumulated, they just asked how many entered. So we're not going to take into account how many we're leaving. So one important thing that we're going to do in terms of a calculator technique is we've got these two functions. They're the only two functions of the problem. We're going to use them for every single section. So that means that one thing that we should do is put them into our y1 and y2. I've already done that. There they are for y1 and y2. And that way I have them there to use, even though I don't need them in the first part. I'll just put them in there and then I can use them whenever I want. All right, so probably it's not too hard to figure out that if I want to know how many fish enter the lake, I'm just going to do the integral of the rate at which they're entering the lake. So this question, it just needs me to do the integral from 0 to 5 of the enter the lake function e of t dt. And in terms of me writing a justification or even just getting points for having partial credit, writing this is probably going to get me a point, just writing integral 0 to 5 of e of t. But note that I didn't write out the function itself. I just wrote e of t. So you're always welcome to use whatever functional notation so that you don't have to write out all this stuff and write integral of 20 plus 15 sine of whatever. You just say integral 0 to 5 of e of t dt. Now, by the way, a little background on that, that you could just jump right to this. I think most people would. But just to think about what's really going on there, you're really using f of b equals f of a plus the integral from a to b of f prime of t dt. But we don't know how many we started with. It says how many fish enter the lake. So what you're really doing is saying how many fish had entered by the end of the time minus how many fish had entered by the beginning of the time is equal to integral a to b of f prime of t dt. So that's how this idea relates to the accumulation formula, but you don't have to think about it that hard to solve the problem. You just have to go, since I cleverly already stored this function as y1, then I can go math 9 to get an integral. I'm doing 0 to 5 because that's the interval they gave me. Now I'm not going to write out the function. I'm going to go variables, y variables, function, so that's just enter, and then I want y1, and then I just go d x, and I hit enter, and it gives me 153. Normally we would say 153.457, but it does say to the nearest whole number. Now the fact that they're fish and I can't have 0.457 of a fish without a knife, it is irrelevant. What's important is what did they tell you to round it to? They said to the nearest whole number, therefore the answer is 153. Now, it'd be nice if we said 153 fish enter, but they did not say to use units or interpret in the context of the problem, so we don't have to. So our minimum response is just that right there, and we'll get full points for that. So that's part A.